Welcome to all of our very clever agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, December 11th, 2025, and this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 557. Tim, I know you got some good stuff for us today, so please take it away.
550. You say 557?
557, yes, sir.
Wow, I wasn't far wrong. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I said I thought we'd done 560 of them, so I was pretty close.
Yeah, well, you just rounded it up to the nearest number like I do.
1,000, right?
Right. Nearly 1,000 calls.
Yeah. If you got the email right before the call, you'll note that we're going to be talking about something that's a $54,000 opportunity that we haven't talked about. We'll get to that a bit later in the call. And and Steve wants to know who that guy is that's talking. So just to be clear, I did lose the Thanksgiving beard growing contest and decided to get a haircut. And I got tired of every time I walked out in public, people offering to give me money because I looked homeless. I was making pretty good money doing it, but I figured it was time to shape up and stop looking like a bum. So I got a scrape done and cleaned up a little bit. Anyway, we're going to be talking about that a bit later in the call, and I am also as literally as soon as we finish the information deck on the opportunity that we're going to be talking about. I mean, literally like 10 minutes ago, our local internet went down, so I'm operating off of my phone. So as usual, actually my hair is on fire, but we're making the best of it that we can. So we're moving forward with that. I appreciate you guys being here. Hope this is an informative call. You're going to see something later that literally nobody else has seen. They can't have seen it because literally we just did it today. So we're excited about it. We think it's a great opportunity, and you'll be well rewarded for joining the call today. We appreciate you being here. And with that, I will look at our fine cast of characters here and see what's going on. Jimmy, you got anything exciting you want to talk about, or shall I just keep moving?
Keep moving. Nothing other than what we're going to talk about later.
Good deal. Good deal. Mr. Carney, chug that down there, buddy. I'm going to start with you. Unmute yourself there, Sparky. So how's things going in your world? We haven't heard a lot from you lately other than we heard a little bit last time. What's new in your world?
So I had a really interesting conversation this morning with a subscriber, divorce subscriber, and I know we focus on realtors and investors, but he's a loan originator. And the conversation was very compelling because what he's looking to do is he feels he should be on the phone daily, talking to people, trying to generate business, and how he can help folks, particularly those that may have a home. It's not going to stay within the marriage, or he could restructure, or if someone is looking for another home, he can help them with a mortgage, and then seeks to build relationships with realtors and even attorneys the other way. In other words, by bringing them business development. And I found that to be very compelling. I mean, he's looking at it completely different. It's not the model that All the Leads has, but he's following in the vein of leading with value first and trying to assist where he can. And I just, my hat's off to him. I think there's, as you think of something, he has clearly thought about this and realizes that there's a niche out there or a problem that needs to be solved that really isn't being addressed. And
hey, Steve, I'm curious, is he working, what type of leads is he working? And
divorce leads.
What's his goal?
Divorce leads. His goal is to increase the number of, he's a loan originator. So it's really qualifying people with loans so that they're qualified and then go find a home.
Okay. And you said he's primarily working divorce?
Yes, those are the leads that he's getting.
Yeah.
And does his lender accept? Does his lender ignore existing existing loans to make
Well,
loans?
like he said, he knows the law pretty well. He's based in Michigan and can figure out that if they're going to sell the house, how that the debt to income ratio won't count against the credit report for the marriage the way it is. So in other words, he can kind of, well, I won't say kind of, he can show that, hey, this house is up for sale. So they're no longer going to be attached to this home, and now they're going to start fresh and are looking for another home. It's kind of like when someone does a subject to the existing loan. There is a way to work with a company, with a mortgage company to say, hey, sure, there's someone else who's actually holding the deed on this. The mortgage is still in this person's name. However, it's being paid for through a third party, et cetera. So the debt to income ratio goes down and looks completely different. But he's looking at how he can help folks. And if some folks are in a situation where maybe they're behind, there's a way to restructure. He said that doesn't always work. It just depends. But he's willing to work those problems to find a solution. So I found that to be, again, very compelling, because it's a different take on the approach that all the leads takes. Not that he has any problems with it. And one of the things he said was, look, I've looked at other leads. Other leads cost so much more money, and they're not as detailed as the leads that he's getting from all the leads. So in other words, he's getting better leads at a better price that will help him to move forward with what he wants to do. So
Cool.
Again, it took a long conversation. We were on the phone for about an hour, but I needed that just from a discovery standpoint, because, it was a learning opportunity.
So
That, he
let
presented.
let me make one out. You may have already told him this, but if not, I'll throw it in there. Um, you might want to tell him that it would also be a great opportunity for him to solidify a relationship with a realtor to become that realtor's preferred loan originator by, if he finds people that literally say, yeah, I don't think I'm going to buy, I'm going to rent temporarily, find somebody who's doing property management as a realtor, establish that relationship, and then when he can't get them down with a loan, he's got an ability to immediately hand them off to somebody who'll get him a place to live. He's made lots of relationships there.
And that's what he looks to do, Tim. Exactly. In other words, build relationship with realtors, not only realtors, but also as he's working with a couple that is going through divorce, if he can get them qualified for another home, make sure the attorney's aware of it, realizing that, hey, you have the best interest of the client at hand, and explain to the attorney the services he provides. Perhaps there's other people that the attorney may say, hey, I've got a client that's looking to purchase a home and isn't qualified for a mortgage. So again, I thought it was a very astute way to niche down on a situation I hadn't considered this morning, but I found it to be enlightening.
That's great. That's great. Great way to start us off today. Hey, I see a smiling face on here that we talked to before. Someone who has the last name of Smolenoff and is related to Aline. Oh, there he is. He smiled. He knew I was talking about him. Hey, bud, you were on here before, and we were kind of giving you some advice about how to chase a deal you were working. Unmute yourself there and update us on what's cooking.
So I wish I had better news, but yeah, it didn't really go as I would have liked it to go. And I mean, technically I still am working on it, but I think we left off like when I last mentioned what was going on. I was saying that I was planning on meeting with her, and I scheduled numerous times to meet with her, and she would like push it off, cancel it, kind of just kept avoiding um meeting me and going over some of the things I wanted to go over. And then a couple weeks went, well, I was following up with her very consistently and then wasn't getting any answer, like any response whatsoever. So I was like, all right, maybe I take, my foot off um, the pedal a little bit. And I did. And then after about 2 to 3 weeks, she called me and she had told me that she heard from one of the from somebody at Habitat for Humanity who had mentioned that she would now be able to sell the property, or maybe not, yeah, ultimately sell the property and walk away with something. So originally when we first spoke, maybe 6 weeks to 2 months ago, she was being told that she was going to walk away with nothing. She was potentially going to go into foreclosure. And now they were kind of Habitat was kind of contradicting what they had originally said, at least in her eyes, and what she had heard. So I I explained to her that they're not, well, she was like, I don't know if they're lying. I don't know what to believe. Kind of a little all over the place. And once again, I offered to meet her. I offered to speak to whoever she had spoken to at Habitat, and she she kept giving me a bunch of reasons for why she was pushing off the appointments. And I yeah, so I was like, it doesn't really seem like she wants to do anything. And she really, originally she sounded like she wanted to be aggressive with the situation, and then she kept, going back and forth. So I was like in a spot where I didn't necessarily know what to do, but I offered to meet with her to schedule again. I offered to speak to somebody from Habitat, and she mentioned that she wanted to speak to somebody from Habitat and get a little bit more information, give them a heads up that I would call, and then she would let me know and feel a lot more comfortable with me speaking to somebody um, about her situation from Habitat. And since then, which I last spoken to her about a week and a half ago, I haven't heard anything and plan on following up with her pretty soon. But there's a lot of back and forth and I guess games being played on her end, so it's a little tough, you know, following up with that and just and her and just and getting things going. If it's like, if she really doesn't want it, I can't, there's only so much I can do. So
Sure, I
that's
understand.
where
The
we're at with that.
only thing I would say is that, well, ask, I think, in your opinion, she's going to have to get out of the house. She can't afford to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
So the house is going to change hands. Somebody's going to list it and sell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got to
Yeah.
figure out you got to figure out how to make that you, because you're trying hard, and you've got nothing to lose by being pretty bold. I mean, if you just showed up at her door one day, she probably wouldn't shoot you.
Right. Yeah.
And Moshe, I was going to say also, you said it didn't go how you wanted it to go, but I remember originally she just was going to let it go. Yeah, and I think you told her at least have a conversation, at least talk to the people. So it sounds like you probably pointed her in the right direction. It might not turn out with the commission for you, but it sounds like it'll turn out good for her. So you helped her. It's a good referral in the future for you. The story how you help someone.
Yeah. Definitely. It's definitely been a good experience. But yeah, if she I had something I was going to say and then kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah, it's hard, wanting it more for her than she does. And I told her you have to be like, she was like, I don't know, you know, now I feel like they're lying to me and this and that. And I was like, if you want to get out of this situation in the best shape possible, you have to work with Habitat too. Can't
Right.
just try and
Gotta
do
be upfront.
things on your terms, and then she's like, well, you know what, to be honest, I really don't care how Habitat feels and how she feels like they mistreated her by forcing her into, or telling her she was nearing foreclosure and she wasn't going to walk away with anything. So I can't,
Probably scared, but think about it. She's probably scared that they're going to throw her out in the street and take the house away from her and all that. She doesn't know what her rights are and all of that. And if there's anything you can do to help her feel comfortable about, at least letting you talk to them, she tell her, you got nothing to lose. I'm certainly, you can say, I'm certainly not on Habitat's side in this. I'm on your side. Let me help you. But you gotta find a way to, crack through that facade and do Do something goofy. Show up with the flowers or something and say, hey, no, you're probably having a tough time. Just wanted to bring this by and let you know I'm serious. Do something unexpected.
I
It's a
like that.
thought,
I just,
something. It sounds like it's an opportunity, and the only reason I'm pushing you to do it is I know you're learning and trying to figure out how to do these things, and it'd be awesome if you could pull something like this off and get it under your belt. You'd feel great, and she'd be doing a great service for her as well. Even though she should have found a way to pay her mortgage, she must have fallen on a harder time and all that. Steve, you were going to ask a question. You typed it into text. Ask it out loud, bud.
Sure. So it sounds like you've clearly established trust and rapport, and you can be a little bit more frank with her. Okay. And at this point, going silent with Habitat is not a good strategy. Okay. I'll give you an example. A loan originator. Most people, when they get in trouble, what do? They clam up. They don't call. And he'll tell you, look, as soon as you have a problem, call first. And he gave me an example of a guy who lost his job. He called the bank and he had never been behind on a payment. He said, look, I lost my job. I don't know how I'm going to make the payments these next couple of months. He said, well, we're not so worried until you get to 6 months. Now that's the loan originator. Okay. They're willing to work with him. And what they said to him is, look, how soon do you think you'll get a job? He said, hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months. I said, okay, well, you can catch yourself up. All right. So they were willing to work with him. He was upfront with him. And I think with where she is, sure, she probably feels like, hey, they haven't been upfront with me. Well, they changed their tune, but they changed their tune in a way that is more favorable to her, right? She can sell the house, and if she makes a profit, she can walk away with it. So, you might ask the question, how many months you think you can go before you get a notice of default? That's not going to help you. And, oh, by the way, you have a default on a home, bankruptcy, you're looking at 7 years of bad credit. I don't want that for you. There's a way to do this. There's a way to get out of this. And you can also probably help her to relocate into another place, whether it be a rental or a purchase, right? I mean, she's not going to purchase anything if her credit's ruined. It's not going to happen.
right.
So, and you can say to her, look, like Tim said, it's not about Habitat. It's about you. I'm trying to help you. And the reason I'm providing you with these options is most people only think that they got one way to sell a house. Okay, well, there's more than one way. And I'm willing to help you.
Right. And she's probably done at this point, knowing Habitat and the people that are involved, she's probably been at odds with them for a year at this point, at least. She's probably missed payments along the way and all of it. And Habitat's objective is to keep her in that house. When they get to the point that they give up and they know she's got to go, they're going to do what they can to get her going. They also probably have tried to help her find a better job and do all the things that they do. They're a wonderful organization, but I mean, she's got to play along. And the issue here is that there's an opportunity somewhere. We won't beat you up on it. Just keep us posted, and we'll look for good info from you coming up, bud.
Thank you.
You
Appreciate it.
bet. And it's always possible that you could potentially, I don't know, you might have someone in your family you could rely on for some reasonable guidance in this. Do you know anybody like that, Aline?
I have no idea. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
I wouldn't think so.
So, yeah, I actually just said to, is it Rose? Is Rose your first name or is it? Okay. Just asked Rose to unmute herself because she put in the chat box that she had something that she wanted to offer to help. But, I'll just say that I've been listening to Moshe and how he's been proceeding with this and has definitely been very diligent and consistent. And at the same time, you can't be more motivated than the person, right? Like they have to have some level of motivation. And what I'm seeing is, she's kicking the can down the road for as long as she can because it's hard to face hard stuff. And I definitely think staying in the game is important and doing things that are a little bit out of the box, but she has to be willing also to jump in because we can't physically, we can't completely do it for people unless they're a willing participant.
Yep. That's kind of always the case.
Hmm.
They're always tough situations because the people that,
Yeah.
are in these they're low income to begin with when they started, or they wouldn't be able to
Hmm.
qualify for a habitat house. And,
Hmm.
the objective is critical for them to do that. Hey, go ahead and I want to talk to you, Delisa. Unmute yourself again. There you go.
Sorry. I
Go
was
right
gonna, thank you. I was gonna say a couple of things. For Habitat, Habitat isn't always necessarily the lender. They get their funds from the actual bank. So it's really not about talking to Habitat. It's about actually talking to the bank. If they're the servicer, you're talking to the lending department. For me, sometimes you have that buyer or that homeowner, and they're not necessarily just astute, courageous, they live in fear, they operate in fear, and they're sabotaging their own self. When I have that kind of homeowner, I literally get the listing agreement, get the third party authorization, get a little statement from them that, I'm going to take it from here, and I don't have to talk to them. I just work straight with the lender. So the listing agreement allows me to put it on the market, get offers. If it's a short sale, I'm sending it over. The third party authorization allows me to, find out the information, and I don't have to go back and forth with them. I may end up having to go to them one time, collecting the sitting with them while they upload bank statements, sign all the documents and stuff like that. But outside of that, there is no back and forth. And then I would just say to, is it Moshe or Moshe? To make sure that we don't babysit it more than necessary, But again, that listing agreement and that other thing, and it moves on, because you're dealing probably with a low income, um, low vibrational homeowner, that is that way, not just because of the income, but because of the mindset. And that could be very distracting to you and your business at the same time. So,
Really good advice. The other thing that just occurred to me is that another angle that he might also play is to inquire, of her is, hey, so, have you given any thought to what you may do when it's time to move? Do you have a place to go? You might assume it's potentially that they might move back with other family or whatever, but they also might be looking for a place to rent or something like that. And that may be another angle that you could, offer to help them do that. Let me help you find a place to be to do that sort of stuff. Go ahead. I'll unmute you there, Mosh. Go ahead. Yep.
But yeah, thank you so much for that information, Rose. That was really informative. I appreciate it. I'm just wondering, where is it easy, like in the cases you've worked on that are similar to this, is it easy for you to get the lender's information? Is it something you ask the homeowner? How do you go about that?
yeah, is if the homeowner is not cooperating with you, probably kind of move on a little bit, and be careful that you don't consume too much time with one deal. So but you can ask for the mortgage statement. The mortgage statement has the mortgage information. They have a third party form that's on their website. Just be careful. The third party authorization forms cannot be signed digitally. You actually have to have them sign in writing. And I would also get a copy of their ID, so that when you mail in the third party authorization with this wet signature, you also have their ID. Um, but again, if they're not willing to do that, um, again, people were my kryptonite, and I would be consumed and consume a lot of my time with that one person where I'm pulling teeth. And that stops you from helping the other five people, that also need help and that are cooperative. So how you start that business off really determines, your processes moving forward. But the mortgage statement, the other thing that I was trying to say is, if it's an FHA loan, the lender has requirements that they have to do before they foreclose, you know?
Hey, Delise,
Um,
if I could jump in real quick, I had a feeling, my wife and I started a short sale company. She's done 2,000 of them. This is not a short sale. One of the reasons we're beating this to death is there's a ton of equity in the property.
Mhm.
But you did say something that could apply to this, just like short sales. You
Mhm.
said something really important. I know all the time I hear my wife working on the short sales, and she said it's not up to the lender, it's up to the individual investor. And you made a really good point there. It might not be Habitat's money. It might
It's not.
be, they may have gotten it from an outside source. You made another really good point. I know with the short sales, she always gets a power of attorney from the seller, so she doesn't have to go back and forth.
Mhm.
And that could be an interesting
Yeah.
approach for Moshe to go to her and say, hey, let me deal with this for you,
Yeah.
like a limited power of attorney to deal with the lender. So although it isn't a short sale, those 2 points you made are very much have a lot in common with short sales.
And you have to be very careful with that. I will say that I'm an investor too. Some of the best deals are the ones that you buy yourself, so if feel free to call me, you can look me up, Google, whatever, or I can give them my number if I'm allowed. But sometimes just go to them with a straight offer, and decide, maybe that one might be difficult, but let me go with the straight offer, because if you put an offer in front of her and she's not cooperating, then it may give you an upside. Sometimes they just don't want to move.
Yeah,
You know?
Delisa, I think you can put your number in chat directly to Moshe if you want to do it that way. If not, send it to us and we'll get it to him. That'd be great. The only other thing I was going to ask or comment on is I know in our market here, when I was involved in doing Habitat houses, Habitat was focused on funding the build. That's really what they do. They fund the build. They get usually some organization to back the build on a particular house, a church, a civic organization, whatever. They marshal the resources to get them there. They get great deals on the building, supplies and all that, and get the house built. As far as the financing, I don't remember them ever being the lender, like you said. It's they're fronting it, they're helping it happen, but it's always a third party lender involved here. They don't finance them typically, to get that done. They have lenders that they work with.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that's everywhere,
and
but
I'm sorry to say that Habitat actually gets paid three ways. They build the house for free and they get the money to build the house. They have lender partners, so they're a nonprofit lender. So they basically sell it on the secondary. And then you have to also know, Moshe, there's a deed restriction for Habitat homes. So even though there's a lot of equity in there, the seller cannot make that equity.
right.
So there's a deed restriction, so it could be $300,000 of equity in there, but the seller is only allowed to sell it for so much, and they still have to sell it to a low income buyer that has to be approved.
Right.
So
That's what I was going to say. I know that I remember reading the deed restriction, and in the beginning, that they never even look at that when the house is getting built and sold. It's like, oh yeah, that's fine. They move on. They never even think about that. And she's probably aware of that all the way through this to begin with. And that's a piece that, most you've got to look up and get familiar with as well. These are great opportunities for sure, but it's worth digging into.
Delisa, quick question. That deed restriction is there, but I assume that they have the right to waive it. In other words, can they negotiate with? No, they can't. In other
they,
words, it's,
they want the house back, so they'll end up getting it back.
so
And
Habitat can't say, we'll allow you to take the equity. That's not a possibility.
that would go against the Habitat,
Right. They're
and
violating their
usually,
community agreement.
yeah, and usually Habitat got the land for a discounted price or free or as part of the agreement that they would always keep it affordable. So they wouldn't be able to.
Do they ever say, like, you were supposed to live there 20 years, it's only been 10? And do they ever make exceptions to that aspect? I think that's where he's at with this lady. She hasn't been there long enough to be able to sell it.
So no, because Habitat's a 501(c)(3) that is actually tax exempt based on certain rules that they have to follow. So, and they get grants from donors, land from people, different things with the understanding that these are the rules. so they can't then change the rules. And that's one of the things why she's probably not as motivated, because sometimes people have the mindset where it's not about what I can get. I don't want them to get anything. It's a cut your nose to spite your face type of thing. But her whole thing may be, if I'm not getting everything that I want and that I belong, that's for me, then I'm not going to help them win off of me.
Sure.
It's a poverty mindset, but that's really how people think.
You made probably the best point of all, which is don't get consumed in this one deal. But we've
Mhm.
given you a lot more things to go think about, bud.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Great info. Great info. Folks, that's how this works. Click the heart button, raise your hand, and we'd be glad to hear what you have to say about anything you've got going on and all that sort of stuff. And we'll take your questions or anything else in the interim. Hey, Bruce Hill, sorry to wake you up there, buddy. What's going on in your world?
Huh? What? Are you there? Uh, man, not a lot. Just I mean, I can't say a ton. I just had a fun go round with a locksmith that took. Did I tell you guys this last week? Feel like it. 3 visits with a locksmith to a house. So I locked a listing up recently because I offered to drop a dumpster off, change the locks, run the tag sale, pay for the clean out. So I invested in this one. Uh, in return, got a nice 4.5% listing fee on a nice priced house. So I locked it up, and then spent 8 hours with the locksmith over 3 different visits at the house, who kept on jerking me around and finally tried to charge me $1,000. So I just won that dispute. let's let's say
Wow.
that. Um, but it's a great listing in a hot area. So that's been consuming a little more of my time than a typical listing consumes. Um, other than
So
that,
Bruce,
just
when you heard you can't get 3% anymore, you believed it. So you got 4.5 instead, right?
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're not supposed to. Everybody else is charging less. I'm charging more. Now, don't get me wrong. Um, I'm offering more. That's that's the trick. So you got to take a step back and ask yourself, hey, if I was going to charge 4.5%, if I was going to charge 5%, what would I need to do for it? And don't be afraid to put a package together like that, because people will take it. I've had a number of people, when they see those upper plans where it might be 5, 6, 7% to me, that have said, "Hey, I want that." And every time it's a little bit of a surprise, but it happens quite frequently. Hey, I want that plan. I had someone take a 10% to me listing agreement one time on a decent priced house. I mean, it wasn't a super low house. And they said, I want that. And they wrote me a check for the upfront fee too. Why? Some people want the best. So we owe it to ourselves to figure out what the best service is that people could possibly pay for and put it into our listing plan. And if they don't want it, you've got a fall. You should have a fallback. I mean, don't go in and say, "Hey, it's 5% or nothing." Have a fallback position that people can drop back into if they want something a little more traditional.
Cool beans. Cool beans. David, what's up with you, bud? What's your latest story?
Well, a little background. I won't take too much time, but probate's been for those that are maybe new in probate's been a little long haul for me. My first probate deal didn't happen until about a year and a half after getting my leads. And I didn't attack it at all. It was kind of a secondary side thing. And I sent a letter, had one phone call, which the lady said, "Hey, let me take your number. I'll call you back." She called me back like 4 months later. I end up listing her home and double ended it. Okay, brought a buyer, and there was 4 sellers. 3 of them wanted to sell, one didn't. It was a very challenging escrow. Even though the trustee legally could have sold the property, we had one holdout that we had to figure out how to figure this out. And the issue was in Hawaii wasn't that she didn't have the power to sell, it was that the title insurances wouldn't insure. Now, I don't know if that's an issue anywhere else, but it was in Hawaii. And Bruce, actually, I don't even know if he remembers this, took a phone call with me and help me, kind of guided a little bit in the sense that I spoke to every title company literally in Hawaii. They're like, yeah, we're not going to insure it. We had an attorney. Bruce said I would call this attorney, and this is how far off it went. So I called the attorney. The attorney's like, yeah, I don't know, but the attorney that Bruce said I would call him, he's like, yeah, I don't know, but if there's one person to ask, it would be this guy. And I called him. He was like the president of this title company, and he's like, yeah, I have a workaround. The workaround was a unique doc drawn up by his attorney. It was an affidavit of representation that they had to vouch that no other heirs have sued to stop the sale. Okay, and at that point, there was arguing, but no one sued for the sale. So we ended up getting title insurance because of that unique affidavit. And ta-da, double ended it. Very challenging escrow. Well, I just now resold that same home. So from my probate 2 years ago, so I double ended it. They remodeled the whole thing. 2 years later, I'm in escrow. We passed everything. We're closing on that. And then the same people, I'm going to be purchasing a home from that escrow as well because they're doing a 1031 exchange. So this one escrow that was so challenging ended up being 4 deals for me, this probate. And also that experience was really good because now when I speak to people, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I think I'm the only person in Hawaii that can insure your property if you have challenges in the midst of your title insurance. I'm literally the only person that knows how to navigate this. And I literally I don't I have the only guy that will insure your property and we have a workaround to insure it. Now, it sure seems that way. So anyway, that's it. So one deal turned into four, and then now I'm almost 5 years into doing probate now, and I've attacked it a little bit more as of maybe 2 years ago. Kind of taking it more seriously, and I would get a couple deals a year, and then, but now it's really starting to pick up. So I have that escrow, and then I have two listings this week, and I have a listing appointment today. So
Awesome, bud. That's awesome.
yeah, so it's definitely picking up and utilizing more letters and things like that, and putting the whole package together, and it's really starting to work.
Plus, it's Hawaii. How bad could it be, right?
Yeah, it's Hawaii, and yet Hawaii's hard.
Oh yeah.
Well, Hawaii sounds easy, but it's very challenging because of all of the different restrictions and loopholes and legal stuff that takes place over here.
Yeah, I had
It's
a friend
straightforward.
about 20 years ago tried to buy property over there and walked away because it was such a hassle. I should have known you then, and I could have turned you on to him.
Ah, ha, ha. Yeah, that would have been great.
All
Ah,
right. Well,
ha,
listen,
ha.
you keep us posted on all of your activities. It's always good to hear what's cooking with you, man.
Yeah, thanks.
You, Jody, I'm going to turn this over to you for a little bit.
You sure? Is that a good idea?
I'm scared, but I'm going to go ahead and do it.
All right, thank you. So, yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about the promotions we're running. So, in December, we're running a new promotion every week. So, this week's is 40% off the setup fee of a credibility website. So, if that's something you've been on the fence about, it's a great time to jump in and add to your marketing arsenal. Our pricing on our credibility websites is already really pretty good. So 40% off is really, really great deal. And then we're also, it equates to about 40% off of our standard letter pricing, which is $1.65 a letter. You can get those for $1 a letter this week, adding those to an existing subscription or bundling with a new subscription. So in the first month, all the letters are $1. And then in the renewal months, they're at a reduced $1.40 rate instead of the standard $1.65. So a couple great promotions to help you with your marketing efforts. And next week's promotion, we're going to roll out early today for everybody on this call can start taking advantage of it right away. And that is 50% off the first month of any new subscription. So any lead type, any new subscription, month one is 50% off. That's it.
Okay. Anybody has any questions, you can ask them now, or we'll let Jody swing for a little bit. Toby put up his heart with he's happy about that. Good to know. And guys, we're trying to help you end the year with some really good stuff in your arsenal to be better prepared for closing the year out strong and starting the next year out well. So December is typically a month to make sure you got your act together and finish strong. We're trying to help you do that, but certainly also to be prepared for next year. So that's kind of why we're trying to pull these things together. With that, I'm going to ask Alyssa to open up a presentation that we did. But before you do that, I want to give you a little background. You probably saw, or if you didn't, you might have seen the tagline for the email promoting the call today about a $54,000 opportunity. Well, that's $54,000 an hour that you could get paid. Now that may sound fantastic, and of course it is. Nothing going to pay you 54 grand an hour that I know of that is legal anyway. And you couldn't do that too often, even with doing something illegal. But I'm going to show you something pretty cool that came up. This came really as a result, and literally this is a 24-hour old program. This literally kind of got created out of thin air, and it's only taking advantage of stuff that's been going on for a while. We, as all the leads, we have various people that we work with to, furnish us data and all of that. And for a long time, one of the people that we were working with was a group that provided us with a lot of data and information. We actually stopped working with them about a year and a half ago because we were able to do it more efficiently than what they were doing was actually more efficiently, more economically than what they were doing was providing. And they were only doing it because their whole objective was to buy property. So they were working, they started by working probate deals just to, buy a bunch of counties and go do property and all that. And then they started doing research all over the place and all those sorts of things. So we've known them for a long time. They are an investor, and they have been successfully buying and selling properties, and they literally buy to flip. They very seldom hold. And so they've been doing this for probably the last decade, I would say. They're very smart, they're very agile, and they're very honest. We trust them. They've certainly proven to be good stewards of our relationship, so I don't have any hesitation about putting this program together. So they called yesterday and said, hey, what if? And the what if was if we could put a program together. They were just kind of looking for new ways to get opportunity leads sent to them that they could go work, that had a little bit more than just kind of a random opportunity wide net they would cast if they could get a better shot at it. And what he started to describe to me sounded like a bird dog program. I said, well, that's out there, but I said, that there are lots of opportunities like that around, and most people, it needs to have some structure around it. So we created some structure. So that's literally what I'm going to talk with you about. And it's a pretty cool opportunity, and it's almost at no risk for you. And Alyssa, if you'll go ahead and start the program, we'll go from there. So it starts off by simply asking if you're earning $54,000 an hour, and you could actually do that if a miracle happened along the way. And I'll explain to you how that could conceivably happen to you. Go ahead, Lissa. This program is called Lazy Agent. And is there a way to make the big logo go away there, Lissa? I can't tell. If it isn't, don't worry about it. But if you could, it'd be probably cool to get that off the screen because it's covering some of the text. Anyway, Lazy Agent, there you go, isn't just about doing less work. It's literally doing what you do every day anyway and finding a way to capitalize on something that you're already doing. As you drive around and as you move through your day-to-day activities, you're constantly aware of, oh, that'd be an interesting property. You know, you drive by someplace and the grass is still growing, or there's a bunch of newspapers on the driveway, or the mailbox is overflowing, or, you know, the house is in bad repair, all those kinds of things. And oftentimes, you know, unless you really want to work on that kind of property, you just walk away. It's like, yeah, that's too much trouble. I don't want to hassle with that and try to figure out all the necessary things to make that happen. We've got a way now that we're creating for you to look at that property, and 10 minutes from looking at it, you've turned it into an opportunity for yourself. Go ahead and go to the next screen there. So the whole point here is, rather than trying to dig in and go knock on doors and say, hey, who owns this house, and do a bunch of research and all of that, we're going to make this pretty easy for you to do. You're just going to open up a web application that we'll provide, be on your phone, take a couple of quick pictures, answer a couple of quick questions, hit submit, and your work's done. What Lazy Agent's going to do is take those opportunities and convert them into ultimately listings that you'd have to spend hours chasing, see if there's really an opportunity. Their team's going to do all the drudgery and time-consuming work while you just keep doing what you've been doing, which is building relationships with buyers and sellers. You don't have to do anything different than you're doing now, only invest 10 minutes occasionally to go shoot a lead up through this system and make that happen. Go ahead to the next slide. Whoops. Listen, I lost you there, kiddo. Just bear with us a second, folks. Like I said, our hair is a little bit on fire today. It appears as though she might have lost her connection. I'm not sure. Give me 1 second. In the meantime, I could sing. Well, I can explain it to you while she's hopefully getting that done, because it's pretty easy to explain. The web app will allow you to take a picture, answer about 4 easy questions, which basically have to do with, you know, the property address, you know, are there newspapers in the driveway? Is the grass not being cut? Is the house in disrepair? All that is simply checking some check boxes, and off you'll go. It's easy to do. It won't require any big effort on your part to make that happen. And once the application gets done, literally it should take you less than 10 minutes. If you do happen to see a neighbor roaming around or something and you could ask them if they know anything about it, that'd be great. Obviously, the more information you can provide, the easier it will be for that to work. And the easier it'll be for Lazy Agent to come back. There she goes. Back again. Why don't you go to the next slide? Right. And we kind of said this already. It's everything's around you everywhere. You can move on from that. And look at number 2 on here, which is vacant homes, overgrown yards, estate situations and life changes that you know about, and any properties that you know have been sitting off market too long. if you know something was listed and all of a sudden it came off market and nothing happened with it, these all might be things you'd want to submit. All you gotta do is take a couple of pictures, answer a few quick questions, and off you go. Next slide. So, as I said, easy, easy, easy. You open the app, take a couple of pictures, answer the questions. If there's a neighbor, talk to them, like I said, and then submit it. What Lazy Agent will then do is do the rest of the work. They're going to do all the homework. They're going to dig in. You can go to the next slide. They're going to verify the current ownership, title status, all the history of the property as best they can find it. They're going to look for tax liens, code violations, anything else that'll affect the value and possibly the motivation of the seller. They're going to determine if there's equity there based on their research that they're doing. They're going to find the owners and heirs and hopefully find the decision maker that could sell the property. And they're going to attempt to buy it. If they can indeed buy it, they buy to flip, not to hold. And so you can go to the next slide. So they're going to do that, and here's how you get paid. When they buy the property and have it ready to market, as the registered agent, you're the person that put it in there, they'll be done, they're ready to sell it. They're going to they'll send you a listing agreement, and they'll be the owner or their designated owner. It'll contain a 25% referral fee back to them, back to their broker. You'll be able to retain 75% of the commission that you earned in exchange for that 10 minutes that you invested, however long it took ago to get that done. And you'll complete the online form in about 10 minutes. So that's the way it'll work. So on a $400,000 property, that's roughly 75% of what your 3% share ought to be, which is $9,000. So if you could do 6 of those in an hour, that's how you get to the $54,000. Now, obviously, that's unlikely to happen very often. Jim could probably do it, but
Yes.
a lot of us won't be that excited about getting there. But it's a great opportunity. And the cool part about this is we know the folks that are doing this. We know how they work. We know, all we needed to know about them to be comfortable recommending them to do this. And we think it's a great opportunity all the way around. And all you've got to go do is just sell the property. It's a simple program for you. It's not something that's going to be really hard. You're doing it every day. Go to the next slide there, Alyssa, if you would. You do this every day anyway. If you're just driving down the street, all you got to do is put the brakes on for a second, step out, take a couple of pictures, and off you go. You're done. It's really, really easy to go do. We're creating the web app as we speak. That's a part of this that's getting done now. We didn't have quite time to get that done today, but we are doing it. And I really wanted to throw it out there again, like we said, hair on fire. That's why mine's gone right now, to make sure that we gave you the opportunity to look at it, because we want to get some quick experience in here to have, let's get the kinks out of the startup process and get this going. So you got nothing at risk to get this done. Ultimately, there'll be a fee to be in this program, but right now, if you sign up, we're not even going to charge you a fee to be involved in it. And certainly for the first year that you're involved, your money that is in this will simply be that 10 minutes you're going to invest per lead to get this done. But all you got to do is just pay attention, train your mind to not ignore the opportunities that you might have driven by thinking they'd not be worth the trouble to work, and move on from there to create that as an opportunity. It's not going to be instant because it'll take time, and they will, in fact, they buy properties every single day. That's what they do. And they've got the funding to be able to do that. They're never unable to close a transaction for money. So, and they'll work in any place in the country. They don't care where it is. They've been doing this a long time, and I'm convinced, and we've been convinced that they're the real deal because we know they have. We worked with them before. Go to the next slide, Liz. So kind of summarize the benefits. You can spend less time prospecting and more time building relationships and closing deals, which is what you do right now. You don't really have to change your everyday action. You simply have to take advantage of something that you weren't doing before. You can focus on the return on your investment being high because you're not going to be wasting time doing all the work getting it done. 10 minutes literally could make you that kind of money, could make you 9 grand. It's definitely worth giving it a shot, and it's not going to cost you anything to go do it. Could generate a new piece of your business that's going to generate consistent income. If this works, get started with you, they're able to be successful working in your market and close these deals. This would be a great opportunity for you. And if it works well for you, that's a long-term opportunity, another pillar of your business that you don't have to do very much for. They're not about cutting corners. It's about working smarter. Just leverage your observational skills, relationships, strategic partnerships, and build a great part of your business that you might have ignored. It respects your time and energy and delivers consistent results, and that's what we're hoping. Obviously, no earnings are going to get guaranteed and all that. We know that's the case. Nobody's saying you're going to earn $54,000, but you could, and we hope you will. But you have nothing to lose by trying this program out. Go to the next slide, Alyssa. So this is real simple to deal with. You can either scan the QR code if you're using your phone, scan the screen, and you can go fill out the easy little application, and all that's asking for is your info so that we can contact you when we're actually ready to roll this out. Alyssa posted the link in text as well. It's alltheleads.com/lazy agent. And that'll get you signed up for the program. And you'll be literally one of the very first people in the world to be part of this program. We think it's a cool opportunity. We hope you'll take advantage of it. We're looking forward to the folks on this call, whether you're on it direct or you're on social media watching it. Please fill this form out. We want you to be in the program. We'd love the opportunity to work with you. And this is an opportunity to get in on the ground floor. A couple of questions that we got asked before from a couple of people who would ask these kinds of questions. One of them is if you put a property in and another agent in your market does the same thing, who wins? Well, it's the first one. Whoever puts the information in first gets it. So that's kind of the way it'll work. And we sense that there's likely to be some competition in this because it's kind of an exciting program. We think it'll work well, and we're hoping that it will, but we want to get you started with it and all of that. Greg asked, can I do this lazy agent and use my wife to be the realtor since you're just an investor? Of course you can. Of course you can, for sure. I would urge you to do that, certainly. It's critical that you got to have an agent to get there so that a listing agreement can get signed, but certainly you could do that. And we'd be happy to work with, her and anybody else that you need to go do. If you have any other questions, certainly just send an email to support with any questions that you have, and we'll be happy to answer them. But in the meantime, you've got nothing to lose. Everybody on this call should be going here and just fill out your information. At the very least, we'll send you an information packet. You'll learn a little bit more about this. We'll send you a place to download the web app or to link to the web app, and off you go. So we're excited about this. I appreciate you being here and sticking around to pay attention to it. And it's alltheleads.com/lazy agent. So you heard it here first. You literally are the first people in the country to be aware of this. So you always wanted to be on the ground floor of something. This is your opportunity. Thanks a bunch for paying attention. And Jim, it's 2:02, brother.
All right. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Particularly thank Connor, Alyssa, Jody, David, Bruce, Delisa, Aline, Moshe, Tim, and Steve for actively participating. I want to challenge each of you, take one idea. Hopefully it'll be sign up for Lazy Agent, but if you have a second idea, that's okay too. But take one or two things that inspired you on this call, go out and put them into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. See you same time next Thursday, everybody. Have a great week. Take care.
Alyssa, if you could put the slide back up just so it's there for a second. If you can't, that's okay. Again, it's alltheleads.com/ there you go. I think you're putting it back up. There you go. alltheleads.com/ lazy agent. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Have a great one.